after my wife cheated on me with her boss. After returning home from a business trip, I found a small note stuck on my front door. "Hello neighbor, I know you and your wife have a deep relationship and lots of energy, but the noises you make at night these past few days have been too loud, seriously affecting my rest. I hope you can be more mindful. Thank you." Signed 1201, right across from my house. After reading the note, I was completely baffled. I instinctively thought it was a prank. But then I suddenly remembered that he is usually very busy with work, and there were several times when I saw him come home only late at night. So he probably wouldn't be idle enough to pull such a boring prank. A wave of unease immediately rose in my heart. I knocked on his door, wanting to ask him for some clarity. But there was no response. It seems he has gone out to work. Helplessly, I could only go home first. But as soon as I stepped in, I was stunned by the scene before me. The room was a mess. The piled-up takeout on the dining table emitted a foul stench. The floor was covered with my wife's underwear everywhere. Most of them are of the erotic type. I have never seen my wife wear them. She acts very conservative in front of me. And I have always thought so. My intuition tells me these sexy lingerie pieces weren't bought by my wife for me. Could it be that she is having an affair? It wasn't until I walked into the bathroom that the question turned into a certainty. She really did cheat. Not only had the razor in the bathroom changed its position, but there were also a lot of beard hairs left on it. And I had clearly cleaned it before I left. What's worse, I found birth control pills on the sink. You should know that I have always used a condom. My wife said we just got married not long ago, her career is unstable, and she doesn't want to have children yet. I respect her, but I'm also afraid that taking medicine might harm her body, so I always use a condom. Wait, could it be that my wife bought contraceptive pills? I suddenly rushed into the bedroom and opened the bedside cabinet to take a look. Sure enough, the condoms had all been used up. You have to know that there were still 2 full boxes left before I left. My mind went completely blank in an instant. I lost my balance and collapsed directly onto the ground. Just then, a message from my wife came through. "What time are you coming home tomorrow?" I thought for a moment and decided not to tell her that I was coming home early. I want to investigate her secretly, to see which wild man she's secretly messing around with behind my back. Those 2 scoundrels will definitely pay the price. "Honey, my flight is at 6 tomorrow afternoon. I probably won't be home until 9. "Okay, got it." There was no extra concern, nor any words like, "I haven't seen you for so long, I miss you." It seemed like all she cared about was what time I would get home. I guessed she was asking to reasonably arrange her time. She has to go to work, fool around with her lover, and still clean up the house before I come back. Looking at it this way, she really has it tough. I pulled my suitcase and walked out the door. I found a hotel nearby, put down my luggage, and then took a taxi straight to my wife's company. She works in administration at a private company. The salary isn't high, but the job is relatively easy. Every day is just going to work, drinking some tea, and then leaving on time after work. I was the one who asked someone to help her find this job. When I arrived at her company, it was already 4:30 in the afternoon. In half an hour, my wife should be getting off work. I crouched by the entrance of her company, deciding to follow her after she came out. But I waited and waited, and even by 8 o'clock in the evening, I still hadn't seen my wife's figure. Could it be that she's working overtime? That shouldn't be the case. With the amount of work she has, there's no reason for overtime. Could it be that she didn't come to work at all? After waiting for about another hour, I really couldn't hold on any longer. I was already tired from the business trip, and after waiting here for so long, my energy was completely drained. Just as I was about to go back to the hotel to sleep, a familiar voice instantly revived me. "Annoying, we're outside. What if someone sees us?" Who else could that voice be if not my wife? What's there to be afraid of? It's so late, there won't be anyone around. Besides, isn't it more thrilling this way? I saw a man standing behind my wife. While kissing, He also reached his hand inside his wife's clothes and groped around. His wife not only didn't struggle, but instead wore a look of enjoyment. Judging by the familiarity of their movements, it was clearly not the first time they had done this. Moreover, I had never seen my wife show such an expression in front of me before. When is your partner coming back? Tomorrow night. Then we have plenty of time during the day, right? Tomorrow is the weekend, so we can go to your place afterward. You're so naughty. What do you think your husband would feel if he knew you were messing around with another man at home while he was on a business trip? Don't mention that idiot, it's a buzzkill. Listening to their conversation, my blood pressure shot up to 180. What would I think? I want to kill you two shameless bastards. Just as I was about to rush out and smash this couple with a brick from the ground, the man's face appeared. It was actually him. This man is called Jack. He is my wife's direct superior. Several times before, when I went to pick up my wife from work, I ran into him walking out with her. I always thought it was a coincidence. But now it seems they must have started back then. This Jack actually looks quite decent, wearing a suit, a tie, and slicked back hair. I used to have a good impression of him. It's true that you can know a person's face, but not their heart. He knew full well that his female subordinate was already married, yet he still did such a damnable thing. What a beast. And from the tone of his voice, it's clear he enjoys the thrill of playing me for a fool. Fine. Since you want to play, I'll see it through to the end. After some thought, I gave up the plan to rush out and kill them. After all, that would be too easy for them. I want to torment them mercilessly, making them regret coming into this world. After those two scoundrels finished being affectionate, they drove off somewhere unknown. I didn't follow them but went back to the hotel instead. Even without thinking, it was obvious what they were going to do next. Fortunately, I recorded the entire process of their intimate moment on my phone. After a quick wash at the hotel, I called my childhood friend Alex. This guy is a second-generation rich kid. Although he idles around all day and is lazy, there's no question about his character. Besides, he has a wide network and unconventional connections. Whenever I'm unsure about something, I always consult him. What's up? Aren't you on a business trip? Why are you calling me so late? He and I grew up wearing the same pair of pants and not afraid of embarrassment, so I told him everything about my wife cheating on me. Unexpectedly, after hearing it, he was even more fired up than I was. That guy's name is Jack, right? Want me to gather some brothers and mess him up? How dare he sleep with your wife? I think he's just asking for trouble. Don't rush, Alex. He won't escape the physical pain, of course, but at the same time, we need to make him suffer mentally as well. Here's the plan. You go investigate him first. See if he has any dirty secrets. When the time comes, he'll be the one crying. Alex agreed immediately, saying he would get back to me soon. By the way, I'm sending you something good. I think you might find it useful. Before long, Alex sent me a string of code. What is this thing? I asked, somewhat puzzled. This is a virus program recently developed by our company's technology department. As long as you implant it into the corresponding device according to the operation, you can obtain all the information of that device, and you can also synchronize messages. It can be said to be a magical tool for spying on others' secrets. After hearing Alex, I smiled helplessly. He was right. I might indeed find it useful. After noting down the instructions, I hung up the phone. I lay in bed, but no matter what, I couldn't fall asleep. Just thinking that at this very moment, my wife is lying in another man's arms. My heart felt like it was being crushed by a huge stone, hard to let go. Tonight, sleep is impossible. The next night, I returned home promptly at 9 o'clock. As soon as I stepped in, a fragrant aroma greeted me. The house had already been clean spotless, with no trace of anything suspicious. When I came back, my wife hurried out to greet me, then threw herself into my arms. Hubby, we haven't seen each other for a week. I've missed you to death, she coquettishly teased me in a voice that was unbearably cute. If it were before, I probably would have been moved to tears by now. But unfortunately, I've already seen your true colors. You despicable woman. I've missed you too, wife. To avoid alerting her, I decided to play along with her act. Give me a kiss, husband. Having said that, she made a move to kiss me. But the thought that her mouth had just been passionately kissed by another man made my stomach churn violently, almost making me vomit. Wife, I'll go take a shower first. Don't get yourself dirty. I quickly dodged away and then rushed into the bathroom. After taking a shower, my wife wore a set of sexy lingerie and cuddled me, making love to me. But I refused, using the excuse that I was too tired from coming back from a business trip. Laughing to death. With all the crappy things you've done, you think you deserve to touch me now? I'm so scared of getting sick. Hurry up and go find your boss. Stop bringing trouble to me. Although my wife looked disappointed, she still fell asleep right away. After all, she had to accompany her lover and tidy up the house today. It really exhausted her. After confirming that my wife was sleeping soundly, I turned over and sat up straight away. After taking her phone, I quietly went to the study. As I expected, my wife did change the phone password. You should know, her previous password was my birthday. Fortunately, I have the high-tech gadget Alex gave me, so I don't have to rack my brain guessing. I have to say, Alex really has foresight. After the first operation, all the information from my wife's phone was transferred to the computer. After returning her phone to its original place, I went back to the study. Sitting in front of the computer, I took a deep breath. Although I had long known about their affair, when it really came time to face it all, I still felt a bit uneasy. The moment I finally mustered the courage to open Facebook, I was so shocked that I was left speechless. It was clearly a hot July, but my heart felt as cold as an ice cave. At first, I thought the pinned post on my wife's Facebook, labeled husband, was referring to me. But when I looked more closely, I realized something was wrong. That's not my Facebook profile picture. I clicked into their chat history and sure enough, this guy is Jack. It seems they truly love each other. I, on the other hand, am just extra. And their conversation was even more explosive. Next time, don't do it in the office. It really scares people. Oh, what's there to be afraid of? Isn't it more exciting this way? I see you're enjoying it too. You're so bad. I took a look at the timing of their chat. It was exactly 1 month after she joined the company. I was dumbfounded. I never expected that those two scoundrels had gotten involved so early on. And from the chat records, it turns out it was actually my wife who seduced Jack first. On top of that, I suspect Jack had long been interested in my wife. So the two of them started to get involved in a flirtatious way. In the end, they finally crossed the line and, using overtime as an excuse, openly had an affair at the company. Since then, they have often been fooling around together. Sometimes at the company, sometimes at hotels, sometimes in the car. Last week, while I was on a business trip, my wife even brought him home to mess around. In front of me, my wife is pure, conservative, and gentle, but behind my back, she is like a completely different person. Despicable, promiscuous, shameless, she's simply a filthy bitch. As I kept scrolling down, I could even see my wife's opinion of me. Don't even mention that dead pig of mine. Now whenever I see him, I feel disgusted. I really don't know what I was thinking back then, how I could have married him. Of course, he can't compare to you. You're handsome, rich, and funny. Why didn't I meet you sooner? Marrying him is a blessing he earned over 8 lifetimes. Being good to me and pampering me is what he should do. He is too honest and quite boring, not skilled in that area either. But one good thing about him is that he never doubts me and hands over his salary every month. Seeing this, I finally understood. So, in my wife's eyes, I'm just an ATM. While that pair of scoundrels were fooling around somewhere, I was at home like a servant, washing her clothes and cooking meals, even worried about her safety on the way home, so I drove to pick her up. The more I think about it now, the more I feel like a complete fool. In one of their recent conversations, my wife even made a shocking remark. "What's so good about that damn bitch of yours? She's old and ugly, and all she does is boss you around all day. I can divorce him, anyway, he's not important. As soon as you leave, we'll be together immediately." I can't believe these are the words spoken by the person lying beside me. These thousands of scattered chat messages, every single sentence lashes at me like a whip. The heart that once deeply loved my wife has now become scarred and battered. From meeting my wife to falling in love and then getting married, the journey has been far from easy. I always thought that the bond between us was deep and unbreakable. What surprised me was that she so easily uttered the word divorce. It seems that all of this was just my own wishful thinking. After returning to the bedroom, looking at my wife sound asleep, I suddenly felt an impulse to strangle her right then and there. But my reason told me that it wasn't worth sacrificing my future for such a rotten person. I didn't share a bed with her. Instead, I made do on the sofa for the night. Because she was so filthy that it made me nauseous. Early the next morning, I was woken up by my wife's phone call. "Hey, Boss Wang, I'm here. Is there something you need?" Okay. I'll be at the company right away. Thank you for waiting for me. Working on the weekend too? I asked, pretending to be concerned. Yeah, no choice. The company recently landed a big order, so things have been quite busy. Then I'll drive you. No need. A colleague has a car. You should get some more sleep. No need to even think about it. That adulterous couple is going out to mess around again. Looking at my wife all dressed up and dazzling, my heart suddenly turned sour. Because I have never seen her dress so beautifully when going out on a date with me. Before leaving, she wanted to come over and kiss me. But I dodged her by saying I needed to use the bathroom. Right now, I don't want any physical contact with her. After my wife left, I went to the study and checked their latest chat records. Only then did I realize that Jack was waiting for her at the community gate. No wonder she didn't need me to see her off. And the place where they were working overtime wasn't the company, but room 1601 at the Royal Court Hotel. Just as I was loudly cursing their whole family, Alex called me with information about Jack. You never know until you check, and once you do, you're shocked. It turns out that Jack not only has a wife, but he's also a live-in son-in-law. His father-in-law is a well-known real estate tycoon in our city. The reason Jack could become a leader is entirely thanks to his father-in-law's support. But none of this is the most crucial part. Alex told me that he sent someone to follow Jack for a while and accidentally discovered his earth-shattering secret. This guy was actually having an affair with his wife's best friend. As soon as the two met, they headed straight to a hotel. And this is also good news for me. The more stains he has, the more it benefits me. After hanging up, Alex sent me the evidence of Jack cheating with his wife's best friend, as well as contact information for some related people. This was effortless for Alex. After all, he has financial power. After some thought, I came up with a fun idea. Just wait, I'll make your lives miserable. I immediately had Alex get me a new phone number, and then I used it to send a text message to Jack's wife. Ugly hag, you're so ugly that you don't deserve my Jack at all. If you know what's good for you, just divorce him quickly. We're going to live a happy life together. Almost instantly, his wife called me. But how could I possibly answer? After hanging up, I continued to send text messages. Don't call randomly, we're in the middle of something. He's really amazing. Later, his wife sent me a bunch of messages and made more than a dozen calls. But I ignored them all. As expected, his wife should be back soon. Sure enough, after just half an hour, I heard the sound of the door opening. Honey, why did you come back so soon? I asked, already knowing the answer. The boss had an unexpected meeting, so they sent us all home, my wife said, feigning calm. Although she hid it well, I still caught the trace of her disappointment and displeasure. During dinner, my wife suddenly looked up and said to me, Honey, my parents are coming tomorrow. Could you go pick them up? Hearing this, I frowned but still forced myself to reply, okay, I got it. Those two old bastards, you could guess what they want to do just by their looks. It's nothing more than helping their precious son buy a house. Speaking of my little brother-in-law, I have to say, he's really useless. He didn't study hard, only went to a vocational college, and after graduation couldn't find a suitable job, so he just gave up and spends his days lazing around at home, waiting to die. I heard that not long ago he even started dating someone he met online. I just can't understand how that girl could be interested in someone like him. The woman said that as long as they could arrange the wedding house, she would marry her younger brother. When those two old folks heard this, they were overjoyed. From time to time, they would borrow money from me to pay the down payment for their son. And each time, it was tens of thousands. Where would I get so much money? Do you really think my money just blows in with the wind? In the past, I might have lent some. But now my heart is dead. What does their son buying a house have to do with me? He's not my son. What mother-in-law, what brother-in-law, all of you get lost. Early the next morning, I originally planned to pick up my wife's parents. But halfway through driving, I suddenly came to my senses. Pick them up, my ass. Their daughter treated me like that, and you want me to go pick them up? In your dreams. So I decisively changed direction and went to hang out with Alex. During that time, my wife called me countless times, but I didn't answer any of them. After I told her on Facebook that there was something going on at work, I didn't pay any more attention to her. By the time I got home after having a great time, it was already evening. As soon as I stepped in, a suffocating atmosphere enveloped me. I saw my wife and her parents sitting in a row, their 3 pairs of eyes glaring at me intently. That posture was as if he wanted to tear me to pieces. What do you mean? Why didn't you go pick up my parents? Do you know how expensive it is to take a taxi from the high-speed rail station? My wife was the first to step forward and accuse me. Enough. Is there an emergency meeting at the company? Our big boss is here. I have no choice. I have to go, I said with an innocent look. Nonsense. I think you did it on purpose. Deliberately stood my parents up. My wife grew more and more agitated, her face turning bright red. If you want to think that way, there's nothing I can do about it. I looked as if I didn't care at all. Her mother, seeing my attitude, immediately got upset and stood up, ready to scold me. But before she could say a word, her father stopped her. Her father gave her mother a look, then kindly said to me, "It's okay, we know you're busy. If you don't answer, you don't answer. It's not a big deal. Dad is still the reasonable one." I couldn't be too arrogant either. After all, it's not time to fall out yet. Her dad cleared his throat lightly and then said, "We're not here for anything else this time. It's still about Lily's younger brother." I knew it. Honestly, when you married Lily, we didn't make things difficult for you over the bride price, did we? I smiled and nodded. You didn't make things difficult for me, but that's only because I paid a bride price of $188,000 all at once, far exceeding the local average. You know, it's not easy for him to find a girl he likes. Now everything is ready, except for the house. You want to see him settle down soon, right? On the surface, I nodded, but in my heart, I was full of disdain. What does it have to do with me whether your son settles down or not? He's not my son. The current situation is like this. We recently set our sights on a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room house, which is also in a school district. Everything else is quite suitable, so we must act quickly, or else someone else will snatch it up. But the down payment for this house is quite expensive, and we're still a bit short at the moment. You're his elder brother-in-law, and as long as you're willing, this house will definitely be ours. I was too lazy to listen to his nonsense and interrupted him directly. Dad, how much do you mean by a bit short? Not much, just $500,000. Is this what you call a bit short? The total down payment is over $1 million, and I helped you with $500,000. Does that mean I also have to help your son pay off the remaining loan? Then I might as well buy one myself and live in it. What a bunch of delusional oddballs. I was originally going to refuse outright, but when the words were on the tip of my tongue, I changed my mind. Don't worry, Mom and Dad, he's my own brother-in-law. Of course, I'll fully support him. It's just 500,000 I'll pay. The moment I said that, her parents' eyes instantly lit up. Even my wife's gaze towards me became as tender as flowing water. The mother of my child, I told you, he would definitely agree. Letting Lily marry him was the right choice from the start. Her dad was smiling so hard his eyes were almost squinting into a slit. Don't worry, if you and Lily have children in the future, just leave them to us. We'll definitely raise them to be healthy and chubby, her mom quickly said, trying to win me over. You're too polite, madam. We're family, no need for formalities, I said, pretending to be humble. Yes, yes, yes. We're all family. So when will this money be available? Her dad asked tentatively. This old guy is really anxious. It's like this, Dad, I really want to give it to you now, but I invested this money in a bank financial product, so I can't take it out immediately. Then how long will it take? A good house won't wait for anyone. I pretended to think for a moment, then slowly said, at most 2 weeks. By then, I will definitely be able to produce it. Good. That time frame is still doable. Hearing my affirmative answer, her parents finally smiled again. After the conversation ended, her parents surprisingly invited me to a 5-star hotel for a meal. The average spending per person here must be nearly 5,000 yuan. It seems they have really gone all out for their son. Before going to bed at night, my wife unusually showed me passionate affection. You could say that the whole family is now immersed in joy. Laugh. Hurry up and laugh. The happier you laugh now, the more miserable you'll be when you cry later. In the middle of the night when I got up to use the bathroom, I also went to the study to check their latest chat records on the computer. You still haven't made it up to me for what happened that day. You ran off halfway through? Are you even a man? My great aunt, please calm down for a while. The one at my place is watching closely now, so don't contact me for the time being. Didn't you say over and over that you love me? So why are you afraid of her? I don't care, you must. Seeing them say not to contact each other, I was directly startled. How can we not contact each other? So does that mean my plan is ruined? It seems it's time for me to make a move. So starting the next day, I acted like a completely different person, finding fault with my wife in every way. When she put on makeup, I said it looked ugly. When she bought things, I said she was wasteful. When she didn't finish her food, I said she was disrespecting the hard-working farmers. In short, however upset she is, I'll be there for her. You have to know that I used to be completely obedient to her. How could she possibly tolerate this anger now? So we've been arguing almost every day these past few days. I didn't try to appease her either. I just wanted to make her so angry she'd be furious. One night, I heard her complaining to her parents, but she got snapped at in return. He works so hard. What's wrong with saying a few words to you? You are already in your 20s, an adult. I hope you can be a bit more mature. Divorce? If you dare say that word again, your mother and I will come over right now and break your legs. Laughing to death. Don't say I'm cursing her. Even if I hit her, her parents would tell her to endure it. After all, I'm a walking 500,000. Finally, my wife couldn't stand me anymore and went on a business trip with Jack. They said it was a business trip, but those who understand, understand. Things unfolded just as I had anticipated. After getting the hotel and room number they were going to, I sent the address to someone. Brother, it's your turn now. About 40 minutes later, that brother sent me a video. I took out the barbecue and beer I had ordered earlier and slowly enjoyed it. The video starts with a bang. A muscular man snatched the master key card from a passing cleaning lady and then opened the door. Once the door opened, the muscular man and another burly guy rushed in, with the person filming right behind them. All three were wearing masks and hats, making it impossible to identify them. Ah! The wife's scream was the first to echo throughout the entire room. Who are you? What do you want? Jack and his wife looked at each other honestly, their faces full of panic. Without a word, the muscular man punched Jack in the stomach. Damn it, you bastard. How dare you cheat on my wife? Are you tired of living? Beat him to death. The muscular man called over a burly guy nearby, and together they started beating Jack with punches and kicks. Jack was already as skinny as a monkey, and no matter how much he struggled, it was useless. He could only silently endure the beating. Meanwhile, the wife desperately covered her body with the quilt, trembling in a corner. Stop hitting me, I surrender. Jack quickly couldn't hold on any longer, saying in an extremely weak voice. Seeing this, the muscular man grabbed his hair and shouted, "Does it hurt? Good, it should hurt. There's even more pain coming." With that, the muscular man slapped him hard again. My wife couldn't stand it anymore and shouted with concern, "If you keep hitting people, I'll call the police." The muscular man perked up with interest. "Want to call the police? Come on, I'll give you my phone, you make the call." At that moment, Jack suddenly became agitated. "No, you can't call the police." The muscular man retorted, "Why can't you call? We hit you. Shouldn't you call the police to have us arrested?" Because once the police are called, his affair with his female subordinate and his wife's best friend will be exposed. Once everyone finds out, his good days will be over. By then, not only will his wife want a divorce, but the company might also fire him. His sleeping with my wife was just for fun. How could he possibly risk his happy and perfect life? You stinky dog, listen carefully. If you dare to have any contact with my wife again, I'll castrate you. Before leaving, the muscular man still felt unsatisfied and directly kicked Jack in the little brother. "Ah!" The pig-like screams echoed throughout the room. Watching Jack writhe in pain on the ground, my mood was more refreshing than ever before. The video ends here. And this muscular man was none other than the husband of Jack's wife's best friend. A man who shares the same misery as me. After learning that my wife was going on a business trip, I contacted him in advance and sent him the evidence of his wife cheating with Jack. He was as furious as I was, almost fainting. I told him that if he followed my instructions, he could not only beat Jack up badly, but Jack wouldn't dare to call the police. And that's how this video came about. Just as I was full and ready to sleep, my wife came back. "Honey, weren't you on a business trip? How come you came back so soon?" I pretended to be very surprised. She said without changing her expression, "The leader had something come up last minute, so it's cancelled." TSK. She's really good at lying now, as if it's second nature. I can't be bothered to expose her. Let her keep thinking I'm the big fool who's been kept in the dark. In the following days, my wife and Jack didn't talk anymore. No matter what my wife sent him, he didn't reply. I guess he was scared after being beaten and is now investigating who did it. Meanwhile, I've been thinking about how to deliver a fatal blow to this treacherous couple. I never expected the opportunity to come knocking on my door. My wife told me that their company is going to hold a celebration dinner in a couple of days at a 5-star hotel, and she will be performing a program on stage, asking me to see her off then. She also said that many big shots from their company will be there, making it the strongest lineup. Truly, heaven is helping me. Isn't this grand scene exactly what I wanted? So I quickly contacted Alex and had him use his cash power to bribe the backstage staff in advance. When the time comes, all I have to do is give the order, and there will be a great show to watch. Soon, the day of the banquet arrived. After dropping my wife off at the hotel, I went to the high-speed rail station to pick up her parents. Of course, my wife had no idea they were coming. This was something I secretly arranged on my own. I even specifically told them not to tell my wife, so we could surprise her later. When we arrived at the hotel, it was just my wife's turn to perform singing. She had specially put on an exquisite makeup today and wore a noble and elegant evening gown. As she stepped onto the stage, the lights immediately became dreamlike. The giant LED screen behind her simultaneously played some beautiful scenes. I have to say, she really sings beautifully. Everyone was immersed in her wonderful singing. Her parents also looked proud and full of pride. When she was halfway through singing, I quietly took out my phone and sent a text to a number. Get ready. Almost in an instant, the originally harmonious and beautiful scene on the screen immediately became intense. Who are you? What do you want? Stop hitting me, I surrender. If you hit anyone else, I'll call the police. Everyone was startled by the sudden video catching the affair. Lily, who was my wife, stood there like she was petrified, frozen, and motionless. Her parents were also shocked. Having lived most of their lives, they had never seen such a scene, especially since the main character in the video was their proud daughter. Everyone was surprised, but their hands were not idle. Many immediately took out their phones and started recording. This really upset Lily. She shouted, "No recording," while trying to block the big screen with her small body. Meanwhile, I put on a heartbroken expression and said to her parents, "Dad, Mom, I never expected Lily to be this kind of person. She clearly already has me, so why would she still?" As I spoke, a few tears slipped down like little pearls. There must be some misunderstanding. The woman in the video can't possibly be Lily. Her dad hurriedly tried to comfort me. Yeah, isn't that AI face swapping really popular now? This video must be fake. Her mom quickly chimed in. Stop defending Lily already. Doesn't her reaction now say it all? I said with a heavy heart. Her parents were left speechless in an instant, wishing they could dig a hole and crawl into it. Dad, Mom, I'm leaving now. I want to be alone for a while. Ignoring their advice, I left the hotel straight away. By sheer coincidence, I actually ran into Jack in the hotel's underground parking lot. It seems he couldn't handle the pressure and was ready to make a quick escape. But this works out perfectly. I haven't yet avenged the betrayal of my wife with my own hands. I waited for the right moment, and when he walked into the blind spot of the surveillance, I directly ambushed him from behind. What surprised me was that he was so fragile that he passed out immediately. I guess the injury I got from that muscular guy before hasn't healed yet, which is why I'm so fragile. After confirming he was still breathing, I quickly left. Before leaving, I didn't forget to give his little brother a final kick. I'll make you a eunuch for the rest of your life. The next day, Lily and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce. Her parents called me countless times. But I didn't answer any of them. I could already guess what they wanted to say. In the end, I simply blocked their entire family. When I saw Lily, I noticed both sides of her face were slightly swollen. It seemed she was taught by her parents. All I can say is, well deserved. After all, she did such a despicable thing and completely disgraced her parents. And what pains her parents the most is probably that they can no longer get $50,000 from me for free to buy a house for their son. But I won't feel sorry for this lousy woman. I'll only think that her parents were still too lenient. The divorce procedures were completed quickly. She chose to leave with nothing. The reason was that she looked down on my meager assets. She said Jack would give her something better. This suits me perfectly, saving me a lot of trouble. She also said that marrying me was the biggest mistake she has ever made in her life, a complete waste of her prime years. I chuckled and didn't bother to argue with her any further. By the way, I suddenly remembered that Jack's wife hasn't seen that video yet. Originally, I thought his wife would come to yesterday's dinner, but after inquiring, I found out that his wife had gone abroad for a trip and wouldn't be back for a few days. So after gathering all the evidence of Jack's affair, I sent it to his wife. Alex had already helped me find her contact information. I also sent a copy to Alex, asking him to spread it through special channels. The more people who know, the better. You, Lily, also want to live a good life? No way. About 3 days later, Alex specifically called me to share the miserable situation of Jack and Lily. He told me that Jack's wife went back to the country immediately after watching that video. After completing all the divorce procedures, she directly had Jack and Lily tied up. The next time they were found was beside a trash can. It was said that they were covered in wounds and bloodied, probably close to death. Upon hearing this news, I couldn't help myself and burst out laughing. I can only say they deserve it. After thanking Alex, I hung up the phone. After just a few minutes, another call came in, and it was from an unknown number. I picked up, and, to my surprise, it was Lily's father. He told me that Lily had been seriously injured by someone and was now lying in the ICU, asking if I could show some old kindness and lend some money to save his daughter. In response, I only replied with 2 words: "Get lost."